Welcome to Marriage Unmasked. Today we're talking about how to reignite the spark in a marriage that's hurting. Maybe for you, you've looked at your marriage and you looked at the pain there and you've wondered what happened to us. Maybe that laughter, that friendship, that intimacy hasn't really ever been there. Maybe instant tears even come up thinking about that because your heart needs to grieve. You need to grieve for these dreams that you had for your marriage, what it would be like. Maybe it's the loss. Maybe it's been a while since you guys have laughed together, had fun together, flirted, had that attraction, or enjoyed that kind of really close intimacy. And it's okay. It is okay to grieve. Sometimes we push these things down and allow those things as they bubble up to really come up fully. It is okay. And sometimes we have to grieve a lot. We have to grieve over and over again in our marriage for the things that we had hoped for that we haven't seen, and maybe it's just we haven't seen them yet. So it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It's okay to miss what used to be there and isn't there right now, or maybe to just be grieving for the things that were never there. That is okay. Here's the thing about that spark or attraction or some of the desires that we might want that aren't there is they're not dead forever, right? I want you to know that. It's not that it's gone forever. It's that it's buried and we can unbury it.
Yeah, it's funny because it kind of reminds me of a section of our garden. We're big on gardening, and there's a section of our garden right now that is kind of overgrown. There's some beans that are planted there, and they are not producing very well. And you can be like, well, they're just dying. They're just dead. There's no hope. Those things aren't going to produce. A gardener doesn't do that, right? We don't do that. We don't just give up on the plants because they're not producing anything. There's a reason why, right? And we can look at the reason why, because in that corner of the garden, we ended up planting some of the plants too close together. So some tomatoes are planted over there that are too close to the beans, and there's a lot of weeds that have grown up in that area of the garden. And we notice it's pretty dry over there. It's not watered as well. And maybe some of that's because of the cover plants and things that aren't letting that water soak into the ground. And so there's all these other different things that are going on that are really the root cause of why we're not getting beans out of those bean plants. We don't just give up on them and we just don't throw them out and say, whatever, we're not getting any beans. We start to go after some of these root causes. We can pull some of those weeds. We can thin out some of those tomato plants. We can make sure that there's water and that the soil's in good health and things like that. And we can nurture those beans back to health again. And the same is true of the attraction in your marriage too. There are some things that are behind the scenes or under the surface that are causing there not to be this attraction anymore. Maybe there's some resentment. Maybe there are some things going on in the relationship from old wounds and pain, some things that need to be healed that's causing this lack of attraction. It could also just be the busy schedules. It could be your parenting and the stress of that and how that dynamic is, the masculine and feminine dynamic between the two of you. There's all these other areas to look at that can be behind why there isn't attraction, and healing some of those things can bring that attraction back inside your marriage again.
I was just coaching a wife today, actually, who hasn't really ever experienced these things in her marriage. And she kind of given up on even having hope that these things would ever happen, and just okay, I just need to grieve. But as we were talking, she was sharing her journey before they met. And there's a lot of deep pain underneath in her identity as a woman and in the pain that she experienced even as a little girl. And so the things that we think, might impact it, just go on more date nights or, whatever. It's often so much deeper. The pain that we've experienced in our marriage, those resentments that are hidden, we don't know how to get over them. Sometimes it's the fears that we have that we bring into marriage, or the unhealed wounds that we have. Those really play the bigger role here. Those are the things that we really want to get deeper and identify what's going on under there. And that's often where we need help, right? That's why I've been coaching this wife for a little while, and now we're starting to get into some of this deeper stuff that's going on, and it's so transformational. So I'm so proud of her. But these are the things that we all experience. You're a human. I've experienced these things. Adam has experienced them. We all have things ebb and flow with life. You might be in a season where there's just more going on for you. I know for a lot of women, we can get in seasons where we're living in more of a survival mode. And that actually kills that spark, that kills that attraction. Your nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to allow you to relax into that woman that you really are. And so you are living in this constant state of overwhelm. You're carrying too much. Your nervous system is always scanning. And so you're always in this heightened state. You feel so responsible for so many things and you're managing so many things. It actually puts you in more of this masculine energy, which takes you out of that relaxed feminine posture where a lot of that playfulness and that joy and that sexuality live. They live in that femininity for us as women. And when we are always in that stress mode, always in survival mode, that just kind of falls by the wayside. We lose out on so much of the pleasure meant for us as women. So many women are struggling in this place and they don't know how to come back to that safety in their body. And a lot of times we try all these Band-Aid fixes like, okay, I see this thing on Instagram. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try this. I mean, a lot of the women I work with, they understand what's going on. They understand that they're not thriving as women. They're not relaxed into their femininity and enjoying all that. They know that, but they don't know what's actually going to help them. And so they're trying all these things, but then that's just more stuff on your plate, more for you to think about, more for you to try to manage. And it keeps you stuck in this cycle. And it can actually lead us to feeling like there's something wrong with us. I know my mind has even gone there before, like, I am just so screwed up. Like, I can't figure this out. Or this marriage, there must be something wrong with this marriage. Or him, there must be something wrong with him because I just can't figure this out. I'm trying all these things, but we're so stuck in this over functioning. And that's really what's keeping us from the joy and the beauty that God has for us. We've almost like normalized it to be carrying so much, to be so busy, to be so stressed that you just aren't able to feel sexual. That's not even something for a normal Christian woman to feel is like sexual and playful. But God shares something very different. I think of Song of Solomon and God's design there, he shows the design, and it is attraction, and it is sexuality, and it is playfulness, and it is pursuit, and all those things. That is his design. It's not for us to just kind of be missing each other or to just live as companions or live as roommates or parenting partners. That's not his design. And you're not meant to be just in the survival mode where you're just trying to get through the next day.
Yeah, and for men, it's a lot of the same things. It is actually survival mode for men, too. They are living in fear, or they're performing for love. They're performing over and over again, and they think that that performance is going to earn them love again. And so they're constantly fearing doing the wrong things. It can be people-pleasing, and a lot of that is getting them out of that masculine energy that God gave men to have, is living more in this survival mode, living out of fear instead of out of strength and out of faith and out of who they really are as a man. Losing that identity can cause there to be a lack of attraction in the marriage. And some of it can be physical too, like hormones can be a big part of it for men. Like the testosterone can be dropping because they're not working out, they're not getting enough sleep, they're not eating healthy. Those kind of things can really affect a man and his ability to have attraction. It can also be the environment at home where he is living in more of a shame-based identity, and that shame keeps him out of that attraction in the marriage, where he sees himself as less than or flawed or broken. He isolates from other men. He isolates from his wife. These kind of things break down attraction. There can also be pain from old wounds from the marriage where he's operating out of resentment. And so it's really hard to have attraction for somebody that you have built up years and years of resentment over. So a man too has to look under the hood, under the surface, and go back and heal some of these things and understand why that attraction is missing in his marriage. And numbing is another big part of it too, because a lot of men will go to numbing practices to deal with some of the pain and the wounds and things that they have deep inside, rather than healing those things. And so numbing would be like going to alcohol. Numbing would be going to pornography. Numbing would be going to, scrolling on Instagram, doing things like that, and checking out of life more and more, kind of like putting on the shell and going more passive. And that creates an atmosphere where there is not attraction in the marriage. It's hard for him to attract her, and he's not attracted as much to her because he is numbing and he's putting up these walls and he's dealing with this inner pain in an unhealthy way, trying not to feel And if you're trying not to feel, it's very hard to feel attraction.
Yeah, that's one thing that I hear from a lot of wives in Restored is their husbands get stuck in this. It's like a numbing or like a coping mechanism where they're focused so on work. So they will read books about business, or they will be, on their phones doing all kinds of work, or showing up really strong, passionate at work. But then at home, it's a very different story, and the wives feel neglected or feel like the husband's not invested in the marriage. It makes sense if a man is hurting in his marriage, if he's feeling shame there, then he's going to want to go to work where he feels competent, where he feels like he is doing well. We all want to experience more feel-good hormones. Yeah. We're always chasing feeling good. And so we're not going to focus on things that make us feel bad. We're going to go to anything that makes us feel good. And so it makes sense that a man would also put his effort and his energy there if he has a lot of unhealed shame around his marriage or his family. We get into these patterns where we stop seeing each other when we are hurting. As a wife, she's hurting, she's in the survival mode. A husband, he's maybe hurting, he's in shame or whatever. And we end up just being two people who are trying to self-protect from any more pain. We get so wrapped up in our own pain and our own stories and our own beliefs that are our brain's offering us to try to keep us safe. But it actually just keeps us very disconnected. Adam and I actually went through a time, I think it was about a month long during our healing time, where it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And we were so wrapped up in our own pain, and we wanted to be connected. That was the goal. We were like trying desperately to be connected, but every time we tried to connect, it was like the self-protection was so high for both of us. It was just constant coping, trying to protect from any more pain. One thing I know I was doing was I was learning all these things as I'm healing, learning all these things that you shouldn't do in relationships or things that create unsafety or whatever. And so it was very easy for me to identify those things in myself or in him. And I would go to like correcting, you're going to a victim mindset, or even seeing those things in myself and just getting so discouraged because I'm constantly seeing all the things that need to be changed or the things that are hurting, and then trying to keep us from continuing those patterns.
So in that time period, I was going to a lot of assumptions. There was always this script running in my head about what she actually meant by that, or what she was really thinking behind what she was doing. I would interpret it out of these wounds and out of this resentment from old stories as if she was actually out to get me, or she was trying to hurt me in some way, or she was actually pulling back when she was just trying to get some healing or some health for herself. And so if you misinterpret a lot of these things by making these assumptions, you end up causing a lot more pain and disconnection in the marriage too. And that was definitely something that I was practicing that wasn't healthy at all for our marriage.
Yeah, we had good intentions in these conversations. We would try to have like a conversation every day to try to get reconnected. We were just expecting the worst. And so my brain was like, okay, oh, here we go. Like, it's on the lookout, right? It's on guard. His tone changed, or yep, now he's starting to go to victim mindset. And this is going to be bad. This is not going to end well. And it felt safer to have that certainty of just prepare for this to go poorly than to get your hope up and then try to actually see things a little differently. It was just, you're so wrapped up in your own pain that it's like these pain-colored glasses where you're seeing everything through this different lens other than what is really there. We needed to see each other. We needed to see each other in those experiences and show each other that we care about the other person's experience, and that we're creating the safety for them to have experiences and to be heard ourselves, right? To hear and be heard, be seen and see each other. And that just wasn't happening. We think that we know them. We think we know their behavior so well. We're not coming from a grounded place, even though we thought we were. We'd start each conversation like, okay, we're in this grounded place. We're going to figure this out. But there was so much fear there of more disappointment and more pain. And that fear was speaking so loudly.
Yeah, it was like you have the tools and you have the knowledge of what's healthy, but we weren't practicing it because of the pain that was still coming up. And what we really needed was emotional safety. that is like the number one thing that you need in a relationship. And I know sometimes guys can kind of poo-poo that, like, oh, emotional safety. No, guys need emotional safety. Women need emotional safety. It is a real thing, and it is really healthy for a relationship. Emotional safety is what says, I can be honest. I can be fully and truly myself, and I'm still going to be loved. I'm still going to be safe here. I'm still going to be accepted here. I can make mistakes, and it's okay because I'm going to be loved. I'm going to be accepted. Even when I'm being raw, even when I'm being honest and very vulnerable, I'm not going to be rejected. There's going to be some safety here. And this analogy that I really like about this is, and it kind of goes into the unsafety too, but it's almost like you're two gladiators, that you're like facing each other with a big body shield, and you got your sword up and you got your helmet on. And when there's not emotional safety, it's like you're looking at each other over the shield, and you're looking at each other like, and there's an environment, there's a war going on. So there's all this other external pressure and stuff happening, but you're also looking at each other like, can I trust them? Do they have my back? I don't know. Like, is she going to roll her eyes, say something mean? Is he going to walk away? Is he going to close down? And so you got your armor on, and you're not quite sure if this is friend or foe here. Where emotional safety is a whole different environment. And that's what it is. It's like an environment in your relationship that you both get to create. First, you create it inside yourself. You give yourself the emotional safety so that you are in a safe place, and then you provide that to the relationship atmosphere too. So you're like the soldier, but now you're on the same side. You're back to back facing the environment instead of facing each other. And you know that she's got your back and I've got her back. And where she's weak, I can be strong. And where I'm weak, she can be strong. And that's a whole different atmosphere if you know that your spouse has your back. Then you can face whatever kind of external pressures from a united front, from a team. And emotional safety creates that. And the way that you create that emotional safety is by compassion. Compassion is like the number one ingredient of emotional safety. When you have compassion for each other, when I have compassion for the way she's hurting, I'm curious about it. I'm like interested. How is she hurting? What is going on inside of her right now? And I love this woman, and I want to understand what she's going through, and I really care about what she's going through. And when she has the same for me, that compassion creates this atmosphere where there's this connection and this peace. And then you can let your guard down. You're not fighting each other anymore, and you're on the same team.
It has to start within yourself, right? Yes. You can't give compassion if you don't know it yourself.
Yeah.
This whole topic of emotional safety is so key. We were just coaching a couple the other day, and this is a new concept for the husband. He wasn't able to wrap his mind around it as much, how this was such a big deal. He felt safe is what he said. Like, I don't feel in danger, which I understand. When you're thinking safety is like a lion attacking you, that's danger. But the thing is, emotions and our nervous system, they don't see a difference between an emotional threat and a physical threat. There is not a difference. Your nervous system takes it the same. It's the same kind of thing, whether you're having fear of somebody abandoning you or hurting you again versus you're having a fear of something attacking you physically, like an intruder or a tiger. It is the same reaction in your nervous system. And so if you don't have familiarity with this, you might think, well, I am safe. There's no problem. I don't have a threat. There could be some threat happening to your nervous system. There could be things that you learn from little on that are creating unsafety, or your body experiences unsafety. And that can be a new concept. So if this is a newer thing to you, that's okay. But I want you to know that is the way your nervous system reacts. There isn't a difference there. You don't have to poo-poo the idea of emotional safety being a real thing. It does. It takes a real toll on your entire being.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And Jesus was amazing at creating emotional safety. Like in so many Bible stories. It's one story that I really love that really emphasizes the kind of emotional safety that he brought to people that he was loving on and serving is the story of the woman who is caught in adultery. She gets dragged in front of Jesus. She is in the absolute rock bottom of her life because she is caught in the act, so she is embarrassed, she is exposed, she's extremely vulnerable. The sentence of death is hanging over her head, and they're trying to bring this to Jesus because they want to test him, and they want to challenge him to sentence her to death by stoning because that's what the law required, right? And so what Jesus does is so amazing in this situation where she is at her lowest rock bottom place, where she is in this extremely weak, vulnerable, exposed, horrible position. He doesn't condemn her at all. First of all, he pauses. He makes everybody kind of, like they're coming at him with all this energy and all this heightened emotion and chanting for her to die, basically. And he pauses. He slows everything way down, which is really good for the nervous system, too. He just drops down and starts writing in the sand and interrupts the whole situation. And then he tells them, he who is without sin, you throw the first stone. And then he's writing in the sand. We don't know what he was writing. There's a lot of thoughts. He could have been writing down things that were like eye-opening for the people who were there. Like, oh, I'm guilty of that. Like that's a possibility. And so then they started to just walk away and give up the whole topic. So starting with some of the older ones down to the younger ones, they walk away. And then Jesus is left there with the woman who's probably still trembling, still scared, but he's created this safe space for her. And then he looks up and, is nobody there to condemn you? And she's like, no, Lord, no. And neither do I condemn you. So he offers compassion in that situation. He's not saying she wasn't guilty. He's not saying that she didn't deserve certain things. He just gives her his compassion and his mercy and his love. And then he says, go and sin no more. And so many people jump on that like right away. But it flows from that compassion. It flows from that forgiveness that he gave her and the mercy that he showed her. And he provided this amazing safety for her that she could just relax and feel okay again. Then she feels free to live in a whole different way.
Another element to that story that I think is really powerful is it takes two to commit adultery. Where was the guy? Mm-hmm. Why is he not brought there? Why is he not condemned to die? I mean, to me, if I'm that woman, that's a whole nother level of pain that I'm holding.
That's true.
Is like, why me? She's the one who has to die, and where's the guy gets to go free? Like, what in the world kind of injustice is that?
It's actually interesting. That's one of the thoughts of what Jesus was writing, too, was the law that said both the man and the woman should be condemned. Mm-hmm. And that might have been what he was writing. We don't know.
Yeah, well, I like to think that he was writing, I love you, you're my daughter.
And he might have been.
I like to think that that's, what he was writing too. It's such a beautiful example. One that I think a lot of times is missed in being lived out by Christians. Mm. So our whole point of this, talking about emotional safety, is you can't feel attracted to somebody that you feel emotionally unsafe with. Like when Adam and I were going through that month of just, oh my goodness, so much pain and so much disconnection, the last thing on our minds was attraction and intimacy and all of that. That was probably part of what was creating the disconnection, is we weren't feeling that intimacy. We weren't experiencing that. We were just feeling so separated, so much more like enemies. Mm-hmm. And so this cycle can just spiral. It's so important to prioritize that healing. And sometimes healing requires getting away, which is why we have a whole episode on, is it time for a separation? Because sometimes that's needed. But sometimes it can be helpful for you to get away as a couple too, where it's difficult to heal while you're still kind of carrying the things of everyday life. I was talking about for women how some of this attraction and spark goes away because they're in that survival mode. There's so much that they're carrying outside of just the marriage pain too. And men too. Men are carrying all these pressures in their life. And that is very heavy. Add that onto all the marriage pain, and it feels like you're drowning sometimes. I know for us, when we went to this resort in Belize, this very special place to us, we felt so taken care of. The meals were done. We didn't have to think about it. Most of the meals actually are just delivered right to your plate. You don't have to choose what you want. You just are served. And there's no kids, which we love our kids and we love spending time with our kids, but that is an added stress. It just is. And so there's no kids. It took off the pressures of work projects and things like that are heavy, making decisions, all that stuff. Sometimes you don't even realize how much stuff weighs on you until you get away from it. No homestead stuff for us, no homestead emergencies and, difficulties like that. It's just you and your spouse and this beautiful location. There's so much healing in beauty. God loves to delight us with so many beautiful things, which we often miss. But when you're in this beautiful environment, that itself can be very healing and can help create a lot of safety for you. So it's just you and your spouse. You have extra margin. You have space to breathe and just be. And I was just all this like feminine, playfulness and all of that I love to enjoy regularly. Even more of it came out because I could just fully relax into that. Like I didn't have to go into another mode. I didn't have to go into business mode or mom mode or anything, managing this or that. I could just be that. And it was really such a beautiful time for us to pour into our marriage and into each other.
Yeah, and that's why we're offering this retreat in Belize at that very resort, because it was just such an amazing experience for us. We're like, we can't help but share this with other people.
Yeah.
Like, this is what so many marriages, we're coaching all these marriages, working with all these couples who are in hurting, painful situations, and this is what so many people need, is that margin, is that space. Eliminate those distractions and noise of everyday life and really take some intentional time to really focus on your relationship and to have fun together again and to laugh again. It's not all about like teaching sessions. It's not going to be like a conference where you're sitting there and you're going through lesson after lesson and doing all this hard work on your marriage. There'll be plenty of work on your marriage, but it will be in this environment that is just conducive to joy and connection and peace. And you'll be able to feel that emotional safety in your relationship again. And we'll be there to guide you through. And we do have sessions. We have sessions for men, sessions for women, and we have sessions for couples, and we'll do some couples coaching there. And then also time for you to relax, time for you to hang out as a couple, to go kayaking, to go snorkeling, to do some fun things again, and just get that passion back in your relationship again. You can dream for the future again. You can start to like reconnect on, what are your goals? What do you want to happen in your marriage? And we're going to have some practices that help organize that as well. And you'll leave with a plan to keep that going when you come home from the retreat. We're just excited to be able to spend this time with you and for you to really reconnect in your marriage in this special environment. So check out the show notes. We have a link there where we have some more information and early bird pricing right now. So you want to jump on that because this is very limited. We only have a few spots available because it is such an exclusive, intimate experience. And so we really want you to be part of it. We know that this is going to be so helpful to so many marriages, and so we can't wait to see you there, and we can't wait to see how your marriage changes.
And if that spark is missing in your marriage, this is a good desire to want that. It is a good thing. It's not something that we want you to give up on. We want you to fan that flame, and we want you to know that is what God has for you. He has attraction, intimacy, and joy, and all of that fire in marriage. He wants that for you, and we want that for you too. So if this podcast was helpful today, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We'd love for you to rate and review the podcast, share it with someone, share the retreat with someone, because we know that God is going to be moving in such beautiful ways, and we can't wait to see how he does that. If you could relate to the podcast, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you still have questions or you're feeling stuck, let us know. Reach out. That's what we're here for. We care about you. We really do. And we want to hear your story, and we want to pour into you as well. Every email we get, we respond to, and we love it when you review the podcast. That is so encouraging and helps get the word out there. And feel free to share it on social media. Tag us. We'd love to see that. And we can't wait to see you on next week's episode.